Kevin Chamberlin.
Hello.
How you met Michael Gans, her husband.
We meet at an acting class. He had a beard and he always had a frown on his face, but he was sweet to me and I saw how sweet he was. So I went up to him and we became great friends and then eventually started dating.
Y'all been together since 1991 and married in 2008.
Yes, we have been together since 1991, married in 2008, and we are still going strong 33 years into the relationship.
What was your childhood?
My childhood was a wonderful place. I had wonderful, loving parents and a lot of support from family and friends. I had a lot of fun in my childhood. I had great times with family and friends. I'm thankful for my entire childhood. I had wonderful moments. I wouldn't change a single thing about my childhood.
You now 61 years old. How do you feel?
My 61 years has been a wild ride. I've been through a lot in these years, but I've stuck it through, and my 61 years haven't been bad at all. I've had good times and I've had bad times, but my 61 years have been a great journey.
What is your favorite moment on Jesse as Bertram Winkle?
My favorite moment on Jesse as Bertram was all of the times I'm on camera, because Bertram was a funny character and fun to portray. My whole experience on Jesse was great, but it would definitely have to be the times we're on camera. And there was great moments that were funny and entertaining. I had fun while filming for the show.
What's one episode that you hated to do on Jesse?
There aren't any episodes that I hated to do. I enjoyed doing all of the episodes. But if I had a least favorite episode out of all of them, it would be the season 4 episode, Canes and Dolls, because Bertram gets beat up by the cool kid at the school in that episode, and I don't know how they came up with that idea.
New York new nanny. Sep 30, 2011. Texan girl Jessie arrives in New York to follow her dream, but has to work in the meantime. She gets a job as a nanny for the children of movie director Morgan and entrepreneur Christina.
That was a great episode. I enjoyed filming it. It was always fun filming episodes with Luke and Zuri, and the actor and actress who played Morgan and Christina were great to work with. I remember we had some great moments while filming that episode.
The Talented Mr. Kipling. Oct 7, 2011. Ravi's best friend is his Asian water monitor lizard, Mr. Kipling. Ravi's horrified when he's told he's not allowed to keep his pet in the flat, and Jesse must work out how to keep the lizard without the family being evicted.
That episode was one of my favorites. It showed a different side of Ravi. I also always like when they did episodes about certain characters' pets. This one was great. It brought out another way of Ravi and another side of how he feels about his pet. This episode was a good one for sure.
Used karma. Oct 14, 2011. Ravi is fed up with Luke and Zuri's pranks, so he explains to them about karma and how their bad behavior will rebound on them. When bad things start happening to Luke, he thinks it's karma, until Ravi admits to Jesse he is responsible.
That episode was fun to do, and seeing how Luke and Zuri reacted to the karma was funny, and the things happening to Luke were funny, but it was also great seeing how Ravi reacted acting as if it was karma that was happening to Luke, when in reality it was him the whole time. That episode was one that made me laugh while filming it.
Zombie Tea Party. 5 Oct 21, 2011. Luke needs a new member of his paintball team on short notice. He enlists a terrified Ravi, but when Luke's team is losing badly, it's up to Jesse to save the day.
That episode was a fun one. It was great seeing Luke make Ravi play paintball with him. It also was fun seeing how the game went and seeing how Ravi reacted to the game, but it was great seeing how it ended up with Jesse saving the day for Luke and his team.
One Day Wonders. Oct 28, 2011. Luke sees Jesse busking in Central Park and decides he wants to play with her. A record producer offers to make a demo and a music video for them for money, but it could be a scam.
That episode was a great one, and seeing how the producer, who was apparently in the industry for a few years, ended up being fake and scamming them. It was fun watching them go through the process of all that and seeing how they reacted. It was a good episode. I enjoyed filming that one.
Zuri's new old friend. Nov 4, 2011. While reading a book on psychology, Jesse finds out that having imaginary friends can hinder a child's ability to make real friends. She decides to help wean Zuri off her made-up friends.
I enjoyed this episode a lot. Seeing how Zuri reacts to her imaginary friends being taken away from her was funny. I also had fun seeing how Jesse tried to get her to stop having imaginary friends. Great episode all around. It's always fun doing episodes with Zuri.
Creepy Connie Comes a Callin'. Deck 2, 2011. Luke is dismayed when Jesse sets up a study date for him with Connie, who has a crazy crush on him. He tries to get out of it by pretending he has a girlfriend, but Connie then starts to threaten Jesse.
It was really funny seeing how this episode unfolded. It was always fun watching the actor that played Connie. She was always great. And seeing how she starts threatening Jesse because of a fake girlfriend was hilarious. was a funny character to have on the show, so all the episodes she was in were great, but this one is definitely up at the top.
Christmas Story, Deck 9, 2011. When Christina and Morgan get caught in a snowstorm and might not make it home for Christmas Day, Jesse and Bertram bring Yuletide spirit to the children.
This episode was great, seeing how Jesse and Bertram tried their best to make Christmas special for all of the kids, even though their parents were stuck in a snowstorm, was great. We always had great Christmas episodes, and this one is probably my favorite. It was great filming this one.
Star Wars Jan 6, 2012. Morgan asks teen movie heartthrob Jordan to stay with the Ross family so he can convince him to star in his next movie. Emma fancies him and is jealous when he asks Jesse out.
This episode was definitely one of the funniest ones we filmed. Seeing how Jordan was the typical heartthrob was hilarious. The chemistry between him and Jesse was great, and seeing how Emma reacted because of she was jealous of him was hilarious. I had a lot of fun doing this episode.
Are you cooler than a 5th grader? Jan 20, 2012. When Ravi attends Luke's school, Luke worries that his younger brother will ruin his reputation. Ravi is hurt, but Luke ultimately comes to his rescue.
I really loved this episode. It was fun seeing how Luke reacted to Ravi going to his school with him. He was worried about his reputation, and seeing how Luke comes to Ravi's rescue was great. Those two always had an interesting relationship, and this episode really showed that.
Take the train, I think. Jan 27, 2012. Emma must travel across New York for a class project. Jesse brings the other kids along for the experience. They get lost, but Jesse is determined Emma will make it on time.
This was a great episode. It was fun how everyone went with Emma to class for the project, but how they got lost was fun to see how they reacted to it. Seeing how Jessie worked her best to get Emma to class on great. I had a lot of fun filming this episode, but that's normal because I had fun in all of them.
Romancing the Crone, Feb 11, 2012. One of Christina's tiaras accidentally falls off onto Mrs. Chesterfield's terrace. Jessie and Zuri must find a way to sneak into her apartment to get it back, so they get Bertram to ask her out.
This was a really funny episode, seeing how Zuri and Jesse needed to get the tiara back and them getting Bertram to ask out Chesterfield was great, but also seeing how the date with Bertram and Chesterfield turned out was also funny. This episode was a great one.
The Princess and the Pea Brain, Feb 24, 2012. Tony summons the courage to ask Jesse out on a date, but his plans are foiled by rich bad boy Brody, and Zuri takes it upon herself to prove to Jesse which boy is best.
This was such a fun episode. Tony wanted to ask Jesse on a date, and it was great to see how he tried to work up the courage. Brody was great because we always love someone to hate on the opposite side, and seeing how Zuri tried to prove to Jesse which boy was best for her was hilarious. I had a lot of fun filming this episode.
World Wide Web of Lies, Mar 10, 2012. Jesse is bullied by another nanny, Agatha, who posts pictures on the internet of her seemingly mistreating the kids. Worried her employers might see it, Jesse confronts the bully.
This episode was fun to film, seeing how Jesse reacted to getting bullied by another nanny and how she was getting worried that the parents of the kids would see that she was mistreating them, which we all know she wasn't. But seeing how Jesse stands up to Agatha and how that all played out was great. I had great fun doing this episode.
The Kid Whisperer, Mar 30, 2012. Jesse thinks Luke needs more discipline and gets help from a fellow nanny who turns out to be a dog trainer. The kids break into Bertrand's room and Jesse makes them help clean it up.
This one was really funny. One of my favorites, seeing how Jesse thought Luke needed more discipline and how she got the help of a dog trainer was hilarious. The kids breaking into Bertram's room and making them clean it up was also great. Overall, this episode was great. I really had fun filming this one.
Glue Done It, April 13, 2012. Mrs. Chesterfield accuses the Ross children of replacing her shampoo with glue. As Jesse works on freeing Mrs. Chesterfield's hands from her head, Ravi tries to find out who's responsible.
This episode was really funny, seeing how Chesterfield accused the kids of replacing her shampoo with glue and how Jesse tries to get her out of it, and then Ravi trying to find out who was really responsible. It was a great episode. I enjoyed doing this one a lot.
Bad Fellas, April 27, 2012. Jesse warns Emma that her new boyfriend Vincent is a bad influence. Emma disagrees until he throws a party in the Ross house without permission. Jesse and Emma teach him a lesson.
This episode was funny, seeing how Jesse tried to warn Emma that her new boyfriend was a bad influence, but Emma didn't think so. But then he throws a party in the house without permission, and Jesse and Emma teach him a lesson. This was definitely a great one. Had fun filming this.
Beauty and the Beasts, May 4, 2012. Jesse shows Zuri how to cheat in the Little Miss Big Apple competition, but later finds her cheating on her schoolwork and must apologize for teaching her to do wrong.
This was a great episode. It was funny seeing how Jesse teaches Zuri the ways to cheat in the Little Miss Big Apple competition, and then seeing her use it at school on her work, and then Jesse having to apologize for what has happened. This was definitely one of the funniest ones we filmed.
Evil Times 2, May 11, 2012. Evil nanny Agatha's beautiful, friendly sister visits and has nowhere to sleep, so Jesse invites her to stay. Heather isn't as nice as she seems and tries to steal Jesse's job.
This was hilarious, seeing how Jesse invites the sister of Agatha, who looks nice and everything, but isn't, and she tries to take Jesse's job. Seeing these two go at it was great. They were both great at being the bad guys. This episode was a top favorite for me.
A Doll's Outhouse. June 22, 2012. Zuri is shaken after watching a scary movie about killer dolls with Emma and refuses to sleep in her room alone. To make her feel better, Jessie confesses her own fear.
This was another great episode, seeing how Zuri was scared sleeping alone and seeing how Jesse and her had to work through it. Seeing Jesse confess her own fear was great, seeing that she's not too grown to have fears. Great episode. I had fun doing this one.
Creepy Connie's Curtain Call. July 26, 2012. Jesse and Agatha both lose a bet over whether Zuri or Lindsay will win the Little Miss Big Apple contest and end up hanging from a tree wearing monkey suits.
This episode was another one that was hilarious, seeing how Jesse and Agatha bet if Zuri or Lindsay would win the Little Miss Big Apple contest, and see that if the opposite wins, that they have to hang in monkey suits from a tree. This episode was definitely one of the funniest. I loved filming this one.
Cattle Calls and Scary Walls. Aug 10, 2012. Jessie auditions for a TV show in the hope of following her acting dreams, but Zuri impresses the director instead. Meanwhile, Emma, Luke, and Ravi search for the source of a noise in the wall.
This episode was a great one. Seeing Jessie audition for a TV show and then Zuri impressing the director instead was funny, but seeing Luke, Emma, and Ravi searching for the source of a noise in the walls was also funny. Just watching all three of these stories play out was great. I really enjoyed filming this episode.
Gotcha Day, Aug 20, 2012. Jessie is tasked with planning Zuri's Gotcha Day, an annual celebration of the day her adoptive parents brought her home. Ravi learns that when Christina and Morgan adopted him, they expected him to be a baby.
This episode was really great, seeing how Jesse got tasked with planning Zuri's Gotcha Day, and then seeing Ravi find out that his parents were actually expecting a baby when they adopted him. This episode was definitely great. Story-wise, I really had a lot of fun filming this episode.
The Secret Life of Mr. Kipling. Sep 7, 2012. Ravi observes odd behavior from Mr. Kipling and is shocked to discover that the lizard is actually a pregnant missus. Her eggs end up in a themed restaurant, and the kids rally to contain the chaos.
This episode was so fun to film, seeing how Ravi was observing Mr. Kipling's behavior and finding out the truth about him, that he was actually a she and that she was pregnant. The kids end up in a themed restaurant was hilarious, and seeing that they needed to contain all the chaos that was happening was a great part of the episode. Definitely one of my favorites.
What's your thoughts? Cameron Boyce.
Cameron Boyce was a talented actor, and we were all shocked after the passing. I remember filming a great many scenes with him. He was great on set, and I wish I could have worked more with him, but I'm thankful for the time I did have working with him. The entire cast and producers are saddened by his passing. We'll always remember the times we had with him.
Sky Jackson.
Sky is such a great young actress, especially for her age. She has come so far since working with me on Jessie. She has such a great personality. She was always one of the fun kids to work with. I am excited to see how her career plays out for her in the future.
You was age 49 season 1, 50 season 2, 51 season 3, 52 season 4, 59 currently.
Yes, those ages are pretty accurate to my age throughout filming. It's crazy how long ago I filmed it, but now I'm happy with what I do in my life. I'm still acting, but I'm also focusing on my family and doing things I love to do. Filming for Jessie is something that will always keep a special place in my heart.
What is, on your opinion, working with Debbie Ryan?
Debbie was great to work with. She was a great actor, but also a great person to be around and work with. She got along well with her other castmates and also the staff on set. She's doing very well for herself, and I'm excited for her future in the acting world.
You was in Descendants 3, you played as yourself.
Yes, I played as myself in Descendants 3. It was fun playing a part in the movie. It's such a great movie with such great actors and actresses, and the story is so interesting. I loved when I read the script to see I would be in it. It was quite a fun scene filming that part.
What the funniest moment with Thomas Doherty?
The funniest moment I had working with Thomas was when he messed up a line and forgot what he was supposed to say, and me and a few others laughed at him, and eventually we had to reshoot the scene after we all calmed down. He has the funniest reactions to things, so It's great being around him. Really a cool dude to be around.
What the hardest scene with Jada Marie?
The hardest scene I did with Jada was a scene where she was supposed to hit me on the head with a frying pan, and it was supposed to be an intense scene because it was part of a fight scene, and it was hard for us because we couldn't stop giggling. We had to reshoot that scene about 4 or 5 times because we kept having a hard time not laughing, but eventually we got it down and got it done. It was definitely one of the hardest scenes I had with her.
You was in Teen Beach Movie. You play as Dr. Fusion.
Yes, I was in Teen Beach Movie. I played the part of Dr. Fusion. It was a fun part to play. The character was quite goofy, and I had some great scenes with some other 8 actors in the movie. It was a great experience to be able to play such an interesting character. I also loved the theme throughout the movie because they had great music and choreography for the scenes.
What the funniest scene with John DeLuca?
There were a lot of funny moments with John DeLuca, but one of my favorites was when we were both in a scene and he was trying to say this really long line and ended up fumbling his lines. And every time he messed up the line, I had to try to keep a straight face and not crack up because it was so ridiculous how many times he messed the line up. Eventually he got it down, but it was really hard to film without laughing.
What the hardest scene with Molly Gray?
One of the hardest scenes I had with Molly was a scene we were supposed to be in this heated discussion about something, but it was hard to keep a straight face because Molly is always so funny. She's always saying funny things that just make it hard for anyone to take her seriously. We eventually got the scene down, but it took a few reshoots because she just couldn't keep her composure. But I did love working with her on that movie.
You was in Good Luck Charlie. You played as yourself.
Yes, that's correct. I was in Good Luck Charlie, and I played as myself in the show. It was hilarious playing myself on the show because I was able to just be myself in the show. I had great fun with the cast and crew, and we all had a great time filming my scenes in the show.
What is your thought? Working with Bradley, Stephen Perry, and Mia Tallarico and Bridget Mendler.
Working with Bradley, Mia, and Bridget was a lot of fun. They were all great actors, and they were also great people to be around. They all had such great personalities, and they all had great chemistry together. Great working, all of them, and we all had a lot of fun filming.
What the funniest scene with Caitlin Pachito?
The funniest scene I had with Caitlin was actually during not filming, but just during lunch. We were sitting at the table together and we were talking and stuff, and something she said ended up making me laugh so hard I almost spit out my drink. She's really good at making fun and funny comments that could get anybody hysterically laughing. It's just how she is, and I love being around her for that reason.
What the hardest scene with Eric Allen Kramer?
Hardest scenes I had with Eric was a scene where we were supposed to be in some sort of fight scene, and I was supposed to get slammed into a wall, and it was hard because Eric was really strong. I was also quite a small guy then, so it was hard to get slammed into the wall on certain takes without hurting myself, but we got it done. Eric was doing his best to try to be careful, but it was a very hard scene to do.
You was in the Emoji Movie. You play as Gavel.
Yes, that's correct. I had a great experience voicing the character of Gavel in the Emoji Movie. I had a lot of fun in the studio with the other actors and the producers. It was a great movie to be a part of, and I really got into character as Gavel with my voice acting.
What is your thought? Working with Jennifer Coolidge.
Working with Jennifer was great. She has such an amazing personality. She's so funny. She's also a great actress. She brought so much life to the character of Mary Meh, and it was incredible getting to work with her. She was so fun to be around, always had us all laughing. She was a great addition to the Emoji Movie.
What the funniest moment with TJ Miller?
There were so many funny moments with TJ. He's known for being a funny comedian, but one of the funniest moments I had with him behind the scenes was when we were doing a scene where he was supposed to do this whole speech to the other emojis, but he had forgotten his lines. For some reason, he couldn't seem to get it right. He was making such a fool of himself. It was so hard not to laugh at him. He even started improvising some of the lines himself.
What the hardest scene with Patrick Stewart?
The hardest scene I had with Patrick Stewart was when we were filming a scene where he was saying this really long line, and I think it was just because it was such a long line. It was also hard because I was trying so hard not to laugh every time he messed it up. He was doing his best. It was just the way he would say it was so funny, but it was definitely one of the harder scenes I had with him on set.
Trouble, you play as James.
Yes, that's true. I had a great time getting to portray the character of James in Trouble. It was a great character to play because he was very silly and quite interesting throughout the film. The film overall was a great one to be a part of. I had a lot of fun working with the other cast and crew that were also a part of the movie.
What if you thought working with Seth Rollins and the legendary rapper Snoop Dogg?
Both of them were great to work with. They both have such great personalities. They were fun to be around. Seth was great as the villain, and Snoop was just the coolest guy to be around. So laid back and chill. I had a great time working with them, and I got to talk to them a bunch during downtime. I'd definitely love to work with them again.
What the funniest moment with Wilmer Valderrama?
One of the funniest moments I had with Wilmer had to have been during our downtime. He would always be joking around, telling stories and cracking jokes. Anytime Wilmer was around, the energy would go up and everyone would be laughing. It was hard to not have fun with Wilmer around, and I got to hear some great stories from him of his times off set. We all loved having Wilmer on set.
What the hardest scene with the legend himself, Jim Cummings?
It was an honor working with someone as great as Jim Cummings. He has had many great appearances in many shows. I was excited when they told me I would be working with him. I was a fan of his from previous voiceover work of his. We had a few scenes in the movie, and the hardest was definitely a scene where Jim's character gets very dramatic and angry. He did a great job acting as the villain in that scene, but it was difficult to hold out laughter.
You was in Bunked, you play as Bertram Winkle.
Yes, that is correct. I played the iconic character Bertram in Bunked. I was excited to be a part of Bunked because I enjoyed working with the cast of Jesse so much, and I was thankful that Bunked was being created to continue my role as Bertram. I had great fun as Bertram. He is such a silly character, and it was amazing that I got to continue to use him in this new series.
What the thought-working Jerry trainer?
Working with Jerry was great. He is truly hilarious, and he can have everyone on set hysterically laughing with just a few words. He has the ability to turn a simple scene into a hysterical outburst of laughter just because of his quick thinking and the way he can say the funniest one-liners with incredible timing. It's amazing. I am always happy to have Jerry around.
What the funniest moment with Mary Shear?
There were so many funny moments with Mary Shear. I feel like our whole time together was me trying not to laugh because Mary is always saying something hysterical, but we definitely had one particular moment where she said something and I almost spit out my drink because I was laughing so hard. I can't tell you what it was because I can't remember, but that was by far the Mary on set.
What the harder scene with Miranda May?
The hardest scene I had with Miranda May would have to be one of the scenes where I am scolding her because she is so funny. She was trying to make me laugh the whole time, so it was kind of hard for me to stay in character because I just couldn't keep a straight face. She was trying so hard to get me to laugh while she was also supposed to be like terrified, but that was really the only tough scene I had with.
You was in Teen Beach 2 Return of Dr. Fusion.
That is correct. I returned to Teen Beach for Teen Beach 2 and played the role of Dr. Fusion again. It was great to get to play the character again. I had so much fun in the first one. It was a pleasure getting to do more scenes as Dr. Fusion. It was fun all around.
What the funniest moment with Morgan Larson?
I have so many funny memories with Morgan Larson. Probably one of the funniest ones was when we were rehearsing a scene in the hallway and he kept ad-libbing dialogue off the top of his head. That was so hilarious. It made me and all the other cast members almost break out laughing. He had us all on the verge of cracking up.
What the hardest scene with Ross Lynch?
The most difficult scene I had that involved Ross was a scene that required me to tackle him to the ground. He's a lot bigger and stronger than me. So when it came to doing that scene, he was having to be careful with actually tackling me to the ground because he was afraid he would hurt me, which was kind of funny to me because I was just trying to do my job and he was almost trying not to do his. But especially because Ross is such a nice guy.
You was in Remember It's Christmas, You Pay As Yourself.
That's correct. I played the character myself in the movie Remember It's Christmas. It was a great movie to be a part of. Getting to work with so many great people on the film was amazing. It was fun. All in all.
What the funniest scene with Garrett Clayton?
I had a lot of funny scenes with Garrett. My favorite was one day we were just hanging out and talking about our favorite memories filming, and we started going on about the times we messed up lines and we're trying so hard not to laugh. And eventually we both just started laughing so hard. Garrett has so many great stories from over the years that it was hard to not to laugh with him. He has great comedic timing and is just an old guy to be around.
What the hardest scene with Latrice Royale?
The hardest scene I had with Latrice was actually a scene where I was trying to be serious and Latrice was going off script and saying all these really funny one-liners while I was trying to stay in the zone. It was tough to hold in my laughs because Latrice can be really funny at the worst times. It was challenging, but we got it done.
You was in Suspect Zero. You play as Harold Speck.
Yes, that is correct. I played the role of Harold Speck in Suspect Zero. It was an interesting character to play, but I enjoyed every second. I enjoyed playing such a different character than I normally get to do. He was such a mystery. The entire movie had an interesting feel to it.
What the funniest moment with Harry Lennox?
I loved working with Harry on that movie. He's such an incredible actor. I think my favorite moment between us was when he was first talking to my character and I was really trying to stay calm and collected, even though he was very aggressive and he was going off and it was taking almost everything. I had to not start laughing in the middle of filming because he did a great job in the scene. Very powerful.
What the hardest scene with Aaron Eckhart?
Aaron is another actor that's great to work with, and The hardest scene I had with him was when we were having one of those conversations that kept going on and on. He is such a great actor that he kept going as if he could go all day, but I was almost out of breath by the end of it.
In Duster, you play as Bob Temple.
Yes, that's correct. I played the character of Bob in Duster. It was a great experience getting to play someone who was very mysterious and secretive. It was difficult because I had to keep a deadpan expression almost throughout the entire film, but I enjoyed it.
What the funniest moment with Sofia Vasilieva?
One of the funniest moments with Sophia was when we had a break in between shooting and we were sitting in my trailer and telling jokes to each other. And she told the funniest joke that I actually wasn't expecting. It caught me off guard and I almost couldn't contain my laughter, but we ended up giggling together for a minute or so. She's very fun to be around on set.
What the hardest scene with Josh Holloway?
The hardest scene I had with Josh was the one where we were in this intense fight scene. He had to do the majority of the physical stuff, and I had to try to put up a fight. But it was hard working opposite of Josh because that guy is huge. He was trying his best, but it was hard not getting slammed against walls and stuff. It was a really tough scene. I almost got hurt a couple of times because he was just that strong.
It was in A Christmas Melody, you play as Thomas.
That's correct. I played the character of Thomas in A Christmas Melody. It was a funny experience because I had to play such a grumpy character for the whole movie. The script was so fun because all the lines I had were just me being a Scrooge, and I got to yell a lot. And being the grumpy person was different from the characters I usually play. It was fun all around, especially with it being a Christmas movie.
Funniest moment with Jimmy Townsend?
One of the funniest moments I had with Jimmy was when we were just getting together and sitting around between takes. He kept cracking jokes. He has such a great sense of comedy. All the cast members were always enjoying hearing him tell silly stories. It was fun listening and telling those silly jokes and just having a good time in general.
What the hardest scene with Mariah Carey?
Well, obviously we had a lot of fun on set, but the hardest scene to get through was a scene where Mariah was just going on and on about how frustrated it was so hard for me to get through that scene because she was like a broken record. I had to restrain myself from laughing every sentence she would say because she was repeating herself so much. We eventually got it done, but that scene took forever.
It was in Lucky Number 11, you play as Marty.
That's correct. I played the small role of Marty in Lucky Number 11, and even though it was a very small role, I enjoyed playing the character a lot. He was a very interesting person. He brought a unique presence to the movie, even with my few lines on screen.
What the thought working with Morgan Freeman?
Working with Morgan Freeman was like an experience out of this world. He was just such a great person and great actor to be around. He has such a soothing presence about him. I enjoyed every second working with him. He had me in awe every time he spoke because he's just that amazing of an actor. I was in such working with him. It was one of my dream come true moments. It's hard to describe just how great working with him was.
Funniest moment with Bruce Willis?
Bruce was so funny on set. He was always coming up with one-liners during filming, so he was a constant on-set comedy show. And he was so funny. One time he had me on the floor laughing because one of his lines was so good. The scene didn't make the final cut, but we all enjoyed hearing it. He was a great sport on set. Always so fun to be around.
What the hardest scene with Sheryl Lee?
The hardest scene I had that involved scene where we were both trying our best to argue but keep straight faces at the same time. And she was amazing at keeping a straight face. So we had a hard time filming because one of us would almost break out laughing and we kept having to reshoot it over and over. She was so hard to break, to be honest. It took a few tries to get the take we wanted.
In The Zombie Wedding, you play as Buddy Bob Morgan.
Yes, that is correct. I played the character Buddy Bob Morgan. It was a very fun movie shoot. It was my first time being a zombie and working on a movie with that kind of makeup, special effects. The makeup process was so cool, but it took a while. It was fun to get all the makeup on, and then the actors playing the zombies were all just kind of doing our own little thing on set. I had a great time working on this movie.
What the funniest moment with Vincent Pastore?
Vince was another funniest actors I've worked alongside. One time I remember he was trying so hard to keep a straight face during this one scene, but he ended up breaking out and laughed so hard it took almost 10 minutes to get through a simple line because he kept giggling and couldn't stop laughing, and I couldn't help but start laughing so hard as well. We had to stop filming for a while before we could actually get a take of the line.
What the hardest scene with Deepti Menon?
The hardest scene I had with the actress Deepti was a scene that required us both to be very, very serious, and she had so much trouble staying serious. I have no idea what was tickling her so much, but she kept almost breaking into laughter. It literally took an entire hour to get through this one scene because she just could not keep a straight face, but we got it done in the end, and I was proud of her.
It was in The Prom, you play as Sheldon Sapers.
Yes, that is correct. I played the character of Sheldon Sapers. It was such a fun movie to be a part of. I had already worked with Ariana DeBose, who played the lead, and she is a lovely actress to work with. She makes working so much fun. Definitely a favorite of mine. And I really enjoyed playing the character of Sheldon. The whole movie was an absolute blast, especially the musical sequences.
Funniest moment with Ariana DeBose.
There are so many funny moments I had with Ariana where we were just constantly cracking up on set. We always had a laugh. One time during one of the musical sequences, she started doing a silly dance and I couldn't stop laughing. I think I was red in the face from laughing so hard. It took me a few minutes to catch my breath. She is so funny to be around. One of my favorite actors to film with.
What the hardest scene with Nico Graham?
Both me and Nico were both the youngest characters on set, him playing the son and me playing the brother. We had a lot of fun together, and even though it got a little hectic when shooting the musical number, there were so many good times working together. We both got along great, but the hardest scene was most definitely the number. It was a lot of work because it was the longest number in the movie. I was impressed with how well everyone pulled it off.
In Die Hard with a Vengeance, you play as Charles Weiss.
That is correct. I played the character of Charles Weiss in Die Hard with a Vengeance. It was a great opportunity to be able to do work in this movie, being one of the most popular franchises ever. I met some really cool people. My favorite scene that I had in the movie was when I was talking to Samuel L. Jackson's character. He was a real fun guy to be around. It was sad to lose contact with him after the movie was finished filming.
What the funniest moment with Samuel L. Jackson?
Oh man, there were so many funny moments with Samuel L. Jackson. His entire time on this movie was hysterical. But one of the funniest moments was when he was first meeting myself and the other actors. He was just so excited to be there and was so energetic, and he was cracking jokes like no tomorrow. We all just started laughing. We knew it was going to be a long shoot, but we were just having so fun working with him.
What the hardest scene with Damien Demento?
Working with Damien was great, but the hardest scene for me to get through was the scene that lasted a few hours. Both of us were on the verge of laughing, but we couldn't because our characters were having such a serious and dramatic conversation. It almost killed me to keep a straight face while working with Damien. We did get a few good laughs out of filming that scene, but a lot of it was spent trying not to laugh.
It was in Road to Perdition, you play as Frank the Bouncer.
Yes, I played the role of Frank Bouncer in the movie Road to Perdition. It was such a blast to film that movie. It was a great opportunity for me to get to work with such amazing actors, and I had such a good time doing the scenes with both Paul Newman and Tom Hanks. I had such a fun time working with them. It was an amazing experience all around. I did have one of my favorite roles in this movie. I felt very immersed in the character I was playing.
What the funniest moment with Tom Hanks and Paul Newman?
Both Paul and Tom were hilarious. They had such a great sense of dry humor, but my favorite moment from working with both of them was the time Paul said the funniest thing ever, and both me and Tom just burst out laughing. It took so long to get that scene done because we were all laughing so hard. We had such a good time working on that movie together.
What the hardest scene with Kerry Russell?
Kerry was a blast to work with, but the hardest scene for me was when we had to play two complete opposites. Her character was very happy and enthusiastic, and mine was stern and grumpy. It took some effort to keep to my character and not laugh when she was goofing off, but we got it done and it turned out great. She definitely has a talent for making people laugh.
You was in Bound by Lies. You plays as Gus Boyle.
That's right. I played the role of Gus Boyle in the movie Bound by Lies. I had a lot of fun playing that particular role, and I enjoyed every minute of working on that movie. We all had a lot of fun on set and made many memories there. I had fun working with all of the guys on set, but one of my favorite moments was when we all spent time in between scenes sharing crazy stories about our lives.
What the funniest moment with Stephen Baldwin?
Steven is such a great guy. He's so funny, and he just makes doing anything so much fun. The funniest moment working with him was definitely when we were getting ready to shoot a scene and he started imitating the director. It was hilarious, and it took all we had to not laugh. Steven definitely brought the fun. It's so crazy sometimes thinking about how much fun was had on that set.
What the hardest scene with Natasha Mulf?
Natasha was awesome, but the hardest scene for us to film was definitely the fight scene. It's a long and dramatic scene, and it took a lot out of us to get through that scene. We had a lot of fun working on it, but it was definitely harder to film than any other scene. It was a very hard scene to get through, and it was tough on both of us, but we managed to get it filmed, and it turned out great.
You was in The Girl Next Door. You play as Officer Jennings.
That is correct. I played the role of Officer Jennings in the movie The Girl Next Door. I had to have a straight face most of the time, which was hard because everyone else around me kept cracking up all throughout that scene. It really is one of the most difficult scenes. I can never keep a straight face when people around me are cracking up, but I tried my best, and we eventually got the scene done, and the movie turned out great.
The hardest scene with William Atherton.
William Atherton and I had a few difficult scenes together because he's a very serious guy, and it's really hard for me to be serious, but one of the hardest scenes, definitely in my top 3, was the one where we had this heated argument. He was trying his best to be very serious, and I was trying my hardest to keep it all together. We had to reshoot the scene a couple times because I just couldn't keep from cracking up.
What the funniest moment with Blanche Baker?
Blanche is such a great person to be around. She knew how to make things fun. The funniest moment was her making fun of me for messing up one of my lines. She always tried to mess with me between takes, but she is a great actress and I really enjoyed working with her. She is incredibly talented, so it was fun being on set and being able to work with her.
He was in the Nightmare Gallery. You play as Dr. Stockton.
That's right. I played the part of Dr. Stockton in the Nightmare Gallery, and it was such a fun and interesting experience. The entire shoot was great fun. The cast were all great. The sets were great. The story was great, and I loved playing the character Dr. Stockton. He was a smart but strange guy, so it was fun bringing that to life.
The funniest moment with Amber Benson.
Amber always had the whole crew laughing because she was so hilarious to be around. You would never expect to find the cast of Horror Movie running around and goofing off all the time, but she made it all happen. I think my favorite moment that we shared was when we were just sitting on set messing around and she told some really funny story that we all burst out laughing over. Her stories were great and it was hard to not laugh at her.
What the hardest scene with Matt Devine?
Matt is another one of the funniest guys on set, and the hardest scene for me to get through was the scene where we were trying to be all serious and dramatic. He's a naturally funny guy, so getting him to be all serious is like trying to get a bear to ride a bike. It's just really hard and hilarious at the same time. So there were countless takes just because of how hard we all were laughing, but we got it done in the end.
You was in Howdy Neighbor. You play as Vinnie Mason.
That's right. I played the role of Vinnie Mason in Howdy Neighbor's a great playing such a fun character. The character of Vinnie was so different from me. So it was fun playing as him. The funniest moment I can remember was how I had to play this really energetic and excited person, but in real life, I'm pretty much the opposite of that personality. So when we were done filming, I was so tired, took so much energy to bid it. It was great fun.
The funniest moment with Damien Haas.
Damien was hilarious on that movie set because he's just naturally a funny guy. The funniest moment I remember from working was when he was trying to imitate our director, but he was doing a terrible job and we could all hear him when he was trying to do the impression. It was hilarious. The director was just getting tired of it, but we all found it hilarious. He couldn't make it through the scene because we were all just losing it.
What the hardest scene with Allison Stoner?
Allison is great. She is a really sweet person and she's great to be around, but our hardest scene together was the one where we were having a really deep and intense argument, but the whole time we were just trying not to laugh. We were trying to stay in character as best we could, but we kept cracking up. There was this one line I said and she just lost it. So we had to do like 5 takes before we could get past that part of the scene.
It was in Trick. You play as Perry's ex.
That's right. I played the part of Perry's ex. I had a small role in the movie. I only had a few scenes, but I enjoyed working with the cast and the experience. My favorite scene that I was in my apartment, there was such a great chemistry. We really did work well together. We had some really great laughs, getting some of the lines to sound so real. I really enjoyed working on that movie.
What is the funniest scene with Miss Coco Peru?
Miss Coco Peru is one of the most fun people you could work with. Honestly, all the scenes with her were hilarious. She has such a way of being so humorous and just a hilarious person all around. There's one scene that was the hardest, though. It was when we had this big scene together, and the scene was supposed to be really heartfelt and sweet, but we had so much trouble trying to serious. She would crack me up all the time.
What the hardest scene with Tori Spelling?
Tori is a lot of fun, but working with her was definitely not easy. When we had the scene where the two of us were trying to have this heart-filled conversation, she couldn't stop herself from cracking up, but we eventually got the serious version filmed.
You was in The Valley of Light. You play as Moody.
That's right. I played the role of Moody in The Valley of Light. It was definitely not an easy role to play. It's a really dramatic movie. There was the normal crying scenes to film, but the hardest scene for me to do was the love scene. That took a lot out of me, but they pulled through. It was great to work on such a great movie.
What the funniest moment with Gretchen Mol?
Gretchen is another great person. She's not only a good actress, but she was a lot of fun to be around. Some of the time we spent sitting around waiting for filming to start. We just played pranks on each other. There were the usual pranks like the old bucket of water over the door, but my favorite was the time she got me with a rubber spider from off the set. She just came up from behind me and put it on me. I was so freaked out.
What the hardest scene with Chris Klein?
Chris Klein and I had a few scenes together, but the hardest one for me was the time we were having the scene that was supposed like a heartfelt moment, but he came up with this crazy line and had me completely thrown off. I was trying to keep it together, but he was trying to crack me up. It was super hard to get through the scene unscathed. We did eventually get it done, but we both messed up on some of the takes. We couldn't control our laughing.
You was in Herman USA. You play as Wayne.
Yes, that's right. I played the role of Wayne in the movie Herman USA. It was great working on this movie, and I had a lot of fun being a part of it. There was a really fun moment when we filmed the scene where we were on the school bus. We had a lot of fun during takes. The cast all bonded in the bus. We were singing together and just had some good times together. It was really cool to film that scene.
What the funniest moment with Richard Wharton?
Richard is so fun. He's so hilarious. Me and him and a few other actors really had some great times together. My favorite moment was the time we all decided to play a prank on one of the other actors. We put like gum and some other stuff in the guy's hotel door and he was so mad, but it was just so funny to all of us. We were all laughing hysterically, but we got caught and got in trouble. It was worth it though. It was an unforgettable moment.
What the hardest scene with Enid Graham?
Enid and I had a lot of hard scenes. It was definitely difficult to work with her because she just always had something funny to say. We would always be laughing or cracking up while we were trying to film. I remember one scene that we were trying to be really serious, but both have had a hard time not cracking up. We had to do so many takes because we were both laughing so hard, but we did eventually get all the takes. It was tough.
You was in Taking Woodstock, you play as Jackson Spears.
Yes, that's correct. I played the part of Jackson Spears in Taking Woodstock. The experience was an interesting one. It was fun working on a movie of such a great event. The entire movie was great to be a part of. My favorite scene was the one we filmed during the actual festival. It was great to spend amazing festival filming on location. Was great.
What the funniest scene with Dimitri Martin?
Dimitri is a hilarious guy, but the funniest scene I had with him was the one where we were just having a conversation, but he kept having these really random one-liner comments, just completely unrelated to our normal conversation. And he's just saying these things, and they are hysterical. Was trying not to laugh at some of the things he said. We had to do quite a few takes before we got a take that was usable.
What the hardest scene with Kelly Garner?
Kelly was great to work with, and we had a good amount of one-on-one scenes, but the hardest scene we had together was one of the kissing scenes. It was hard for both of us not to laugh. It was not easy to do a good take with all the laughing we would do during the scene, but we managed. We would have to take a few minutes to calm ourselves down after every few takes.
You was in Wonder Park, the cartoon version. You play as Uncle Tony.
That's right. I played the part of Uncle Tony in the movie Wonder Park. It was an interesting experience being cast for an animated movie, but it was a really incredible those voiceovers. I had so much fun recording the dialogue and doing the different lines. I think my favorite moment I had with the cast was the time we all got together to do the recording for the film. It was just so much fun, and I think our time and effort really showed in the end product.
What the funniest moment with Jennifer Garner?
One day, Jennifer and I were just cracking up over something stupid we did. We were just both hysterical for no real reason, and it was crack up over something so dumb. It was a much needed break from the hard work. It was so fun because she just has the same type of sense of humor as me. It was a great time. We were actually getting in trouble because we were so loud, but it was just so funny. I'll never forget those moments we shared.
What the hardest scene with John Oliver?
John Oliver is a really funny guy, and it was fun working with him. He was a pleasure to be around. The hardest scene was definitely the scene where he was just some kind of rant, and I was just sitting there trying to stay still, and he was making it extremely hard to stay in character. It was hilarious. I couldn't keep a straight face. We laughed so much filming that scene, but we eventually got a good take.
You was in Cock and Bull 3. You play as yourself?
That is correct. I played the role of myself in Cock and Bull 3. It was a truly great experience working on a movie where I played myself, but the funniest moment I had during filming was one day when I was just going off on one of my random tangents. I was just saying some random story that had nothing to do with anything, and my co-stars were just looking on with these confused faces. It was so funny. I could see all their minds trying about.
The funniest moment with Missy Pyle?
Missy Pyle is such a great person to be around. She's so funny. And one day she just started messing with me on set. She was making fun of me and all that, and such a funny sense of humor. She's very sarcastic. She knows just how to get under your skin. She's incredibly talented, but she just has this side of her that is just hilarious. I had so much fun being around her.
What the hardest scene with Drew Drogue?
Drew has this amazing ability to act completely serious, even while trying to crack up with laughter. But the hardest scene we had together was the scene that involved some of the funnier dialogue. It was really hard to get through the entire thing without breaking down in laughter. It was hard, but we got through it in the end. It took a few takes, but we did it in the end. We both tried to stay as serious as we could, though.
You was in Letters from a Killer. You play as Cutler.
That's right. I played the role of Cutler in the movie Letters from a Killer. I had a lot of fun with this character. I really enjoyed playing an antagonistic role, and it was a fun experience. My favorite moment was a scene where I was just messing with one of the victims. I really got to just go all out with that scene, and it was a blast to do. Definitely one of my favorite scenes.
The funniest moment with Kim Myers?
Kim's got a really great sense of humor. And there was this one time on set when we were just sitting around waiting for our scene, and she starts just randomly quoting lines from the Twilight Saga, and she's doing these silly accents from the characters, and my God, was it so funny. It was so unexpected and so funny. I couldn't get over how good her impressions were, and I never expected that this would be how we were killing time.
What the hardest scene with Patrick Swayze?
Patrick Swayze was a blast. Scene was definitely the very first one that we did together, because he had always been such a favorite actor of mine. I was so nervous, but he was so down to earth and easy to get along with. He just made the whole scene so much easier than I feared. I was shocked. I thought I was going to be having a full-on breakdown trying to work with someone like him, but it was actually great.
He was in Loudmouth Soup. You play as Charlie Baker.
Yes, that is correct. I played the role of Charlie Baker in Loudmouth Soup. It was a fun shoot. I got to be really obnoxious in this movie. It was fun. I usually don't get to be such a smart ass, but it was great to do. My favorite moment I had with the cast and crew was just how much we all bonded. We were such a close-knit group of people, and that really showed in how good the movie turned out. We were all sad to part family.
What the funniest scene with Nancy Bell?
Nancy was amazing to work with, and my favorite scene with her involved a lot of back and forth between the both of us. The whole scene was just a fun time. We were just shooting off insults at each other. It was a version of that scene that was just riffing off each other for half an hour. We really had a comedic chemistry, and I loved every second that we worked together.
What the hardest scene with Joe Mellis?
Joe's got a great sense of comedy, and we were just bouncing jokes off each other offset all the time. The hardest scene was probably our argument scene. It was difficult to get through the whole thing without getting into a laughing fit. We did get through it eventually, but it took a few tries to get through it without breaking down, but we did manage it in the end.
What happened to you in your career?
After I did all of those different movies and had so much fun, after a while, I really wanted to settle down a bit and take things easy for a while. I got involved in some more small things, and also my personal life. I got married, and that's what I really have been focusing on for a while. I'll probably start doing more movie stuff eventually, but being able to slow down has been nice.
Your enemies? Agatha Angela, Wendy McMillan, the Ross family sometimes. Miss Chesterfield.
Oh, I have plenty of enemies for sure, but sometimes the people I have the hardest time with are just ones that come off as very serious and uptight. The Ross family has definitely been one of my biggest enemies in the past, and I had to deal with some issues with Miss Chesterfield. Angela can be such a pain in the neck, and I've had some bad experiences with Agatha for sure. I feel like we've gotten past them, but it's hard to tell with some of them.
What is your thoughts? When was Bertram Winkle?
I loved playing Bertram. He's a great character to try out, and there were definitely moments where I related to him. I think I did a pretty good job of getting into his personality, which wasn't difficult. He's very much like me, but also not, and that made playing him so much fun. It's always a lot of fun to get a role that can be hard to get into character for, and when the character is similar to me already, it's also a lot easier to play him.
Well, Kevin Chamberlin, that's talking to you. You can say whatever you want.
Well, it's great to get to talk about all this. I've loved looking back on my past career. There are definitely a few that I didn't do so well at, but a lot of these projects were a lot of fun. I'm glad I got such good experience from these projects, and I think I really did pretty well in them for the most part. It was great working with so many amazing people on so many different movies.